Okay, dear students, am I audible? If I'm audible, kindly text me quickly so that I can begin a new lesson today. Okay, thank you Anusri and Asmita. I'm going to start my lesson, a new lesson today. This is from your supplementary reader. This is Happy Prince. The name of the lesson is Happy Prince, and this belongs to your supplementary reader Movements. Okay, so this is the 5th chapter of your supplementary reader, which is otherwise known as Movements. Okay, so the name of the lesson which we are going to study today is the Happy Prince. Okay, so what is this Happy Prince all about? Let's find out. Be a bit attentive so that you understand the values involved in the lesson. This is full of values. Okay, this lesson is full of values. We shall come to know what we are supposed to do as a human being in this world, because it so happens that often we do not realize our duties and responsibility as a citizen of our country, as a citizen of the nation. We forget our responsibilities towards our society. Okay, so this particular lesson will remind us, okay, of some of the very core duties or the responsibilities, you can say, we have as a responsible member of the society. Therefore, let's read out, let's try to understand, and as I go along with the text I shall explain you further. Okay, so dear students, here I go. The Happy Prince was a beautiful statue. Okay, the Happy Prince, basically here is the statue erected after the death of a prince who was very much happy in his lifetime. Okay, he was a very happy prince when he was alive, but here in the context of this story we find the Happy Prince to be a statue. Okay, to be a statue made of gold, sapphire, ruby, all the precious stones in the world, because he belongs to the royal family. He belonged to a royal family when he was alive. Therefore, after his death, a statue was erected in his memory, and the statue was very, very expensive. It's a very costly statue, because this statue consisted of gold, sapphires, ruby, etc. Okay, so dear students, the Happy Prince here represents the statue of a happy prince. Okay, the statue of a prince who was happy in his lifetime. Prince who was happy when he was alive. Next, he was covered with gold, he had sapphires for eyes and a ruby in his sword. Why did he want to part with all the gold that he had and his precious stones? So let us find out. Actually here, in this lesson, the statue of the Happy Prince has been personified. Okay, the statue of the Happy Prince has been personified. Therefore, the Happy Prince is able to feel the suffering of the world. The Happy Prince is able to communicate to a swallow, that will come to know later on. Okay, because the statue has been personified in this story. Understood? Okay, now let's find out what happens towards the end. The question that the writer asks here is, why did he want to part with all the gold that he had and his precious stones? Okay, because his statue was adorned with all the costly stones, okay, like sapphires, ruby and gold. But in spite of that, he wanted to donate all these precious stones, okay, to people who were suffering. Understood? Why did it happen? Why suddenly as a statue he realized that he has to do something for the society? Couldn't he do it when he was alive? Okay, the question is, he could have done it when he was alive, but the irony of the fact that irony of the very matter is that he started thinking of it after he became a statue, after his death. It apparently appears to be very funny for to you all the dear students, but as the statue has been personified in this poem, in this story, therefore it is very much possible. If a writer personifies an object, in that case he can give the message to the human beings. Okay, I can personify everything. I can personify a bag, I can personify a bottle, I can personify a television, I can personify a mobile phone. We can personify an object. So why is personification selected as a device, literary device for the author? Do you know? Let me tell you. The poet personifies an object in a literary work. It could be in a poem, it could be in a short story, it could be in an essay, wherever. He can personify an object so as to give a message to the human beings. Understood? So as to give a message to the human beings. That is exactly the reason as to why stories are personified, objects are personified in a story or in a poem. So let's find out. Oh, it has come now, I suppose. Okay. It has come now in that case. Dear students, just hang on. I'm trying to fix this. Just hang on for some time, dear students. Take it out. Let me keep it somewhere here. I'll keep it some here. Okay, good afternoon the rest of you. Okay, manager, I'm trying to implement what you have suggested, a little bit smaller. Yes. Now it's okay, I suppose. Today I am black and white, dear students. You can see me black and white, okay? Because it will take time to adjust the colors, therefore I have become black and white. Okay, So thank you all of you who have got connected, and let me continue with my lesson. Okay, so you see, let us begin. High above the city on a tall column stood the statue of the Happy Prince. He was gilded all over with thin leaves of fine gold. For eyes he had two bright sapphires, and a large red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. Okay, so dear students, let me tell you, like I already mentioned you about sapphires, ruby and all that, and in case you want to write down the meaning, you can write down later on. After my live class gets over, you can pause the video and you can write down the meaning of the words. Okay, like sapphire I displayed you, ruby also let me display you. Here is the word. Okay, precious stone consisting of corundum in color varieties varying from deep crimson or purple to pale rose. Okay, so and then here you can see, and also if you want to have pictorial meaning of the word, you can always type the word in the Google image and you can see the picture. Okay, then your concept will be clear. Okay, so you can go to Google image and you can type these words. Then you will be able to see what exactly sapphires and ruby look like. Okay, anyway, so high above the city on a tall column. Dear students, the meaning of columning is an upright pillar. Okay, so high above the city on a tall pillar stood the statue of the Happy Prince. Okay, he was gilded all over with thin leaves of fine gold. Dear students, the meaning of gilded here is covered thinly with gold leaf or gold paint. You can write down later on. Okay, he was gilded all over with thin leaves of fine gold. For eyes he had two bright sapphires. Okay, his eyes were made of two bright sapphires, and a large red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. Okay, and ruby glowed on his hilt. Hilt you might be able to understand. The handle of the weapon is called hilt. Okay, handle of the sword is called hilt. One night what happened, dear students, you see, there flew over the city a little swallow. His friends had gone away to Egypt 6 weeks before, but he had stayed behind. Then he decided to go to Egypt too. So what happened, you see, here, as I told you, the Happy Prince is the name of a statue here, refers to a statue here who was very much happy in his lifetime. Okay, those who have joined late, for them the reference I am giving. Once again I am repeating the concept of Happy Prince. The Happy Prince is the statue of a prince who was very much happy when he was alive. As he was a prince, therefore, after his death, in his memory, a statue was erected on a high tower in a city, in a place from where everyone can see this precious statue, because this statue was made up of all sapphire, ruby, gold. Okay, therefore it was a very attractive, a very dazzling and very mesmerizing sort of a statue, okay, of the prince who is no more. Therefore Happy Prince refers to the statue of a prince who was very happy when he was alive. Okay, so his statue was erected, the description of which we get here in this paragraph. Now let's move on to the next paragraph. One night there flew over the city a little swallow. A little swallow flew over the city. His friends, the friends of the swallow, all flew away to Egypt 6 weeks before, but he had stayed away. One swallow stayed behind. Then he decided to go to Egypt too. He also decided to join the company of his friends in Egypt. All day long he flew, and at night he arrived at the city. At night what happened? He arrived at the city. So after he arrived at the city, where did he take shelter? You see, where shall I put up? Means where shall I live? He said, I hope the town has made preparations. So I hope the town has made preparation is a humor okay, on the part of the writer here, you can say, on the writer has put up some humor here, okay, in the dialogue of the swallow. He said, the writer means to say that the city might have, the writer means, not the writer here exactly, writer has created the dialogue for the swallow, okay. Swallow means to say that, I think the town has made some preparations for my stay in the city, okay, or in the town. The town authorities might have made some preparations for my stay. Okay, this is what the swallow means to say. I hope the town has made preparations. It's a humor. It's a humor on the part of the writer to introduce this particular style in the dialogue of the swallow. Then he saw the statue on the tall column. Okay, column, as I told you, is pillar. Okay, on the tall pillar he could see the statue, a big, huge statue. Okay, which attracted the attention of the swallow. I will put up there, I shall live there, he cried. It is a fine position with plenty of fresh air. So he alighted just between the feet of the happy prince. Dear students, the meaning of alighted is of a bird descend or come down from the air and settle. This is the meaning of alighted. Okay, when a bird comes down from the air and settles somewhere, it is called, it is, what is the meaning of alighted. Okay, so he alighted just between the feet of the happy prince. Then she, the bird says, I have a golden bedroom. Now everywhere around is gold. Okay, therefore he says, I have a golden bedroom, he said softly to himself as he looked around, and he prepared to go to sleep. But just as he was putting his head under his wing, a large drop of water fell on him. What a curious thing, he cried. There is not a single cloud in the sky. The stars are quite clear and bright, and yet it's raining. So when the bird was about to go to bed, about to sleep, okay, a large drop of water fell on him. He became absolutely stunned and curious. Why he became absolutely stunned and curious? He became absolutely stunned and curious because of the fact that in spite of having no rainfall, where is a large drop of water coming from? Okay, he was wondering, he was thinking, what happens? The sky is not cloudy, it's not raining, even though there's a large drop of water. The stars are also quite clear and bright. It's a bright sky. In spite of that, where does the large drop of water fall? Then another drop fell. What is the use of statue if it cannot keep the rain off? He said. It's such a huge statue. In spite of that, the statue is not protecting me from a drop of water. Large drop of water. So what is the purpose of the statue? He became a bit negative at this stage, dear students. He became a bit negative at this stage. Okay. So what happened afterwards? You see, I must look for a good chimney pot, and he determined to fly away. So he says, what is the use of a statue if it cannot keep the rain off? He wanted to leave the place. I must look for a good chimney pot, okay, so that I get a shelter. And he was determined to fly away. But before he had opened his wings, a third drop fell, and he looked up and saw, what did he see? And before he opened his wings to go elsewhere on the chimney pot, a third drop fell, and as soon as the third drop fell on himself, what he did was he looked up and he saw something amazing. What did he see? Listen, what did he see? The eyes of the happy prince were filled with tears, and tears were running down with golden cheeks. His face was so beautiful in the moonlight that the little swallow was filled with pity. What happened, dear students, when after the fall of the third drop, the happy prince looked up, he could see something amazing. What was the amazing thing that attracted his eyes? He could see that the happy prince was crying. The eyes of the happy prince were filled with tears. Okay? and tears were rolling down his golden cheeks. So he became filled with pity now. Who became filled with pity? The swallow. Let's find out what he does. Who are you? He said. I am the happy prince. Why are you weeping then? Asked the swallow. You have quite drenched me. You have quite drenched me. Dear students, the meaning of drenched is wet thoroughly or soaked. You have totally soaked me. Okay? You have totally soaked me with your tears. Who are you and why are you why are you weeping? Because he has already answered, I am happy prince. Then the bird asked, why are you weeping? Now the prince is giving the description of the reason for his crying. Okay, reason for why he was crying. Okay, so and from this particular paragraph, dear students, the main plot develops. Okay, from here onwards you will come to know the story, what the story is going to be all about. Okay, so be attentive. Okay, in this paragraph. Okay, when I was alive, the happy prince said, as I told you, the happy prince has been personified in the story. Therefore, the statue is likely to interact with the bird now, because the statue has been personified in this lesson. When I was alive and had a human heart, answered the statue, I did not know what tears were. I did not know at all what tears were all about, for I lived in the palace where sorrow is not allowed to enter. Okay, the happy prince is now regretting over the fact that when he was alive, he used to live in a palace. He used to live a life of luxury, comforts. Okay, therefore he did not know what a sorrow was. Understood? So he is regretting. The sense of regret is very much prominent in his tone when he was narrating the incident of his lifetime to the bird. My countries called me the happy prince, and happy indeed I was. My countries called me happy, and indeed I was happy. So I lived, and so I died. So I lived a life of comfort, lived a life of luxury. I did not know what sorrow was all about, because I was all soaked in happiness. Okay, I was all involved in happiness. Okay, I was living a life of absolute comfort and luxury. Therefore, I did not know what sorrow was all about. And now that I am dead, they have set me up here so high that I can see the ugliness and all the misery of my city. And though my heart is made of lead, yet I cannot choose but weep. Okay? He said, now that I am dead and they have erected a statue of me so high up in the city that I am able to see all the ugliness, all the misery means suffering, all the suffering of my city, and my heart is made of lead. Okay, but still I am able to weep, because I can feel. As the statue has been personified, so even though it is made of lead, but still it can weep. Okay, it can feel and weep, because the writer has personified the statue here. So the statue has been given the characteristics of a human being who is full of kindness and charity in himself. Understood? So therefore he says that now I can feel the suffering, because now I can observe the city from such a high tower. I can observe the city, I can observe the ugliness of the city, I can observe the suffering of my own city. Therefore I am weeping now. Why weeping? Because in my lifetime I was totally blind, okay, of what was going around me. So that is the reason as to why I am now weeping. What? Is he not solid gold? Said the swallow to himself. He was too polite to make any personal remarks, but as the swallow was very much moved by the statement of the happy prince, therefore he did not make any comment, he did not make any reply to the fact that reply, or he did not ask any question, okay, which was cropping up in his mind, which was popping up in his mind, okay. He did not ask any question. He became very polite and was speechless. He was just listening. And then the happy prince continued. He said, far away in a little street there is a poor house. One of the windows is open, and through it I can see a woman seated at a table. Okay. Now, dear students, you can find the happy prince is giving command to the swallow. Okay. The happy prince wants the swallow to carry out certain charity work. Okay. So that something good is done to a woman who is suffering in a house. Okay, she is very poor. So now the happy prince is saying, far away in a little street there is a poor house, inside which the window is open. You can go through the window and you can see a woman who is seated at a table. Her face is thin and worn, and she has cords means rough, red hands, all pricked by the needle, for she is a seamstress. Okay, so dear students, the meaning of cords is rough. The meaning of seamstress is a woman who sews, especially one who earns her living by sewing. Okay, she is called a seamstress. Okay, a woman who earns her living by sewing. Okay, so her hands have become all pricked. Okay, pricked, you understand, no? Pricked means pierced. Her hands have become pierced. Actually, she has made a hole in her hand with the help of needle. Okay, so her hands have become pricked or pierced with needle. Okay, her face is thin and worn, and she has coarse red hands, all pricked by needles. And for she is a seamstress, she has to always keep sewing with her hands. Therefore, her hand has become rough. It has become pricked all throughout. Okay, she is embroidering flowers on a satin gown for the loveliest of the queen's maids of honor. Satin, dear students, is a smooth, glossy fabric. Okay, usually of silk. This is called satin. So satin gown, she is embroidering flowers on a satin gown for the loveliest of the queen's maids of honor. So you can understand it like that. She was embroidering flowers on a satin cloth, okay, which she is preparing for the maid of a queen. Understood? To wear at the next court ball. Dear students, the meaning of court ball is any formal assembly, reception, etc. held by a sovereign or nobleman with his courtiers. So you can say it's a formal assembly or it's a formal reception. The queen wants to attend a formal reception, therefore her maid is also accompanying her. So the seamstress is making a gown, okay, which is having flowers embroidered, okay, all over the gown, and which she is making for the maid servant of the queen, because the queen wants to take her maid servant along with her to the court ball. Court ball means to a formal assembly or reception. Okay. In a bed in the corner of the room, her little boy is lying ill. He has fever and is asking his mother to give him oranges. His mother has nothing to give him but river water. So he is crying. Okay. So the woman is very poor. Therefore, her child is crying. Little boy is ill, and therefore he is crying. He has fever and he is asking his mom to give him oranges. His mom is not able to provide him orange, therefore, because she has nothing to give him, therefore the child is crying. Okay, so you go and help the lady. Okay, that is what the little prince commands to the swallow. Okay, swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you not bring her the ruby out of my sword hilt? Okay, on the hilt of my sword there is ruby. Okay, so you pluck out the ruby, you take out the ruby from the hilt of my sword and carry it to the house of this seamstress who seems to be very poor and who is not able to provide oranges to her sick child, sick son. Understood? Therefore, you go and drop the ruby there in her house so that she can sell it and get money out of it. My feet are fastened to this pedestal and I cannot move. I cannot move because my feet are tied to the pedestal. Okay. Moreover, of course, it's a statue, it cannot move. But as the statue is personified, therefore, statue can also move. But now the statue cannot move as his feet are all fastened to the pedestal. Okay. Now let's move on to the next paragraph. Okay. We are left with just 5 minutes, dear students. Therefore, I've got to go a bit fast this paragraph. Okay. I am waited for in Egypt, said the swallow. My friends are flying up and down the Nile and talking to the large lotus flowers. Soon they will go to sleep. Initially, the swallow was not in a position to carry out the instructions of the happy prince. Therefore, it is trying to make excuses. The bird is trying to make excuses. Ki my friends are all flying up and down the Nile. Nile is a river in Egypt. Okay, Nile is the name of a river in Egypt. And talking to the large lotus flowers. Soon they will go to sleep. Therefore, I've got to go to Egypt. So I've got to go somewhere else. Therefore, I cannot obey your instructions. The prince asked the swallow to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. He said, please stay back this night, okay, and be my messenger. The boy is so thirsty and the mother so sad. The boy is so thirsty because he wants to have orange juice, okay, and mother so sad she cannot provide because she is very poor. I don't think I like boys, answered the swallow. I want to go to Egypt. Till this time, swallow is not in a position to obey the instructions of the happy prince. But the happy prince looked so sad that the little swallow was sorry. Okay, it is very cold here, he said, but he agreed to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. Okay, it is very cold, but in spite of the fact that it's very cold here, the swallow eventually obliged the instruction of the happy prince. Okay, thank you, little swallow, said the prince. Okay, the swallow picked out the great ruby from the prince's sword and flew away with it in his beak over the roofs of the town. He passed by the cathedral tower. Dear students, cathedral tower here refers to a very large, usually stone building for Christian worship. Cathedral tower, okay, it's a large stone building for Christian worship. Okay, so he passed by the cathedral tower where the white marble angels were sculptured. Okay, it's a beautiful tower, okay, where white marble angels, images of white marble, images of angels were sculptured with white marbles. He passed by the palace and heard the sound of dancing. A beautiful girl came out on the balcony with her lover. She says, I hope my dress will be ready in time for the state ball. She said, I have ordered flowers to be embroidered on it, but the seamstresses are so lazy. Okay, so now seamstresses is making an embroidery. Okay, you might I've already given a reference of it before. Okay, so he could hear the statement of the beautiful girl, okay, who said, my dress is with the seamstress, but seamstress appears to be very lazy. Okay, anyway, he passed over the river and saw the lanterns hanging on the masts of the ships. At last he came to the poor woman's house and looked in. And the boy was tossing feverishly on his bed, and the mother had fallen asleep. She was so tired. She was so tired. So the swallow has already reached the house of the seamstress. Okay, he hopped and laid the great ruby on the table beside the woman's thimble. Okay, so he has already carried the ruby into the house of the seamstress, and over the thimble is a small metal or plastic cap which is used with a closed end, which is used to protect the finger and finger while pushing the needle while saving. Okay, so you can write down later on. Then he flew gently round the bed, fanning the boy's forehead with his wings. How cool I feel, said the boy. I must be getting better. And he sank into the delicious slumber. And slumber means, dear students, sleep. Okay. Then the boy again fell asleep. Okay. Then the swallow flew back to the happy prince and told him what he had done. It is curious, he remarked, but I feel quite warm now, although it's so cold. That's because you have done a good action, said the prince. Okay. So the bird came back to the prince, and the prince was very much thankful to the bird. So he was thanking the bird. And the little swallow began to think and then fell asleep. Thinking away was made him sleepy. When the day broke, he flew down to the river and had a bath. Okay, so till this line I'll continue my lecture on the next day. Okay, so dear students, if you have any doubt, you can ask me at the beginning of the next class. Okay, so I am winding up today's lecture. Okay, so have a good day, dear students. I am winding up today's lecture. Okay. See you in the next class. And if you have any pending class any pending notes, you please update your notebook, okay, and convert it into a PDF and send it to me. Okay, you do not keep your notebook work pending. Okay, dear students, thank you so much. Let me wind up. Have a nice time. Bye bye. Take care.